Hi, good morning. My name is Rich, and this is the Snap Challenge podcast. This is the show we talk to some of the best entrepreneurs in the UK food and drink startup scene. Today, we are very excited to have Dr. Will of Dr. Will's Ketchup and Sauces on the show with us. Dr. Will, tell us a bit about yourself and what's going on this morning.
What's going on? So I'm on paternity leave. I had a baby last week, so that's made my life change quite a lot. But yeah, I'm a junior doctor working in the NHS. I specialise in plastic surgery. But around 5 years ago, a friend and I set up what was then a small company called Dr. Will's to try and improve ketchup. And it's gradually grown over the past 5 years to where we are now.
Cool. So if it's not surgery, it's ketchup then?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, all being it down. Because you got two, haven't you?
Yeah, so that's second one arrived this last Monday.
So you got a blue and a pink one?
Yeah, yeah.
Busy.
Yeah, game changer having two. Yeah.
So my kids are my toughest critics. I shouldn't ask this now, should at the beginning of the interview, but yeah, do they like your sauce? That's the killer question.
Yeah, no, they do. So although it annoys my wife because Archie, who's my boy, will say, "Oh, Daddy's catch," and then you put it on, and he'll just get the spoon and just eat the ketchup and leave everything else. So we're working on it, but yeah.
That sounds like my little girl Liza. She always says, "Sauce, Dad, sauce," and you give her it, and you put a bit on, and I'll turn around and she's got hold of the bottle. It's just like this.
Yeah. Oh, I'll get her some Dr. Will's and she'll be fine.
Well, yeah, that's it. I plan on stress testing the product later. I always take the samples back and test it on the kids. They love it. They always, most days they come home from work and they're, "Dad, you're doing a podcast today?" And I'll say, you're only asking that because you want the
because they want the snacks.
You want freebies, kids.
Yeah.
So you're a junior doctor in the NHS. You set up this business with a couple of friends. You want to improve the world of sauce. Like, when did the light bulb moment come? Were you halfway through a bacon sandwich with some Heinz on when you thought your sauce was lacking? How did it come about?
Well, there was a few things that happened at once. So I started the business with a guy called Josh Rose. He owned a restaurant. It's a small kind of gourmet burger type place, student-y focused, in the middle of Newcastle, kind of there, like Jesmond, which is a student district. Yeah. And they put a load of time into making really nice burgers, and he was getting a bit annoyed that he was having to go over the road to the Waitrose to buy more and more Heinz ketchup all the time for people to put on burgers that they spent like a few months trying to finesse. So he'd been talking to me about that, and then my mum's a nursery teacher, and I happened to be at her house, and she said, "Oh, I had a parent come in today to say the only way they can get their kids to eat broccoli is to put Heinz ketchup on it." And I was like, "There's got to be, there's the disconnect here. You can't be doing that." So Josh and I were just chatting, and we were like, "Oh well, look, the ketchup aisle's really stale. Nothing's happening in condiments at all. Whereas if you look at milk, there's like oat milk popping up everywhere. Vegetable crisp, all sorts of alternatives were popping up. And we just thought, if you look at the sauce aisle, it probably doesn't look any different to how it did 60 years ago. And we just thought there hadn't been much innovation, so why not give it a go?"
Yeah, love it. So where were you at in your medical training when this kicked off?
So I'd finished I was a doctor by then. I was kind of in the first early part of my surgical training, and then we sort of had the idea, started doing it, and we thought it might be quite a nice idea and there might be some legs to it. So I took some time out of surgical training and moved to do a PhD in London, and that gave me a bit more time to concentrate on both the PhD and the company. And then that took 3 years, and by that time we built the company to kind of such a degree that I could go back into full-time surgical training, which is what I'm doing now.
So you've been juggling surgical training, starting a business and starting a family in the same 3 years?
Yeah, and then just have my PhD viva to finish that off in a month's time. So
right. Well, I'm going to do a separate podcast of this on time management with your work. I need to pick your brains. You can help me out.
Yeah, outsource everything.
Outsource everything.
Yeah.
Right. That's not logged. Good tip. So you've been going 3 years. So tell us about the early stages of the business then. Like, how did it how did you actually get from the idea to the actual product? Because that's always the hardest bit, isn't it? Working out how you use recipes.
So it's probably, I think we probably registered the business in 2016, but we had the idea in 2015. So actually, it's probably 5 years actually, which is flown by. But so we had the idea of making a healthier version of ketchup, one without any refined sugar or additives, or basically just things you couldn't pronounce. And I was quite into cooking. I still am. So I just went away and read as many ketchup recipes as I could. From kind of just Googling, and there's, from Hawksmoor to Jamie Oliver through to bloggers who had tried to recreate Heinz and things. And we just I think we got to about 30 iterations of trying different recipes and cooking it all up in the kitchen at home before we had something that we thought was quite nice. And then I got married, and I took a load of kind of Kilner jars of it to the wedding, different ones for people to test out and see which one they liked best. And we just kind of iterated like that. There's a small food market that happens in Newcastle every other weekend, and we got a stall on there and took along a few hundred bottles, try and see if any sold and get some feedback. And we sold all of them in the morning. So we were like, oh well, there must be something of interest here. And then we just gradually, just really step by step went from there, sort of speaking to small independent retailers, a few sort of friends that had shops that stocked it. And once we got enough of those, we managed to get a wholesaler. And it's just, it's been really organic along the way from there.
Yeah. Right. That's really interesting. So you did literally start with, researching sauce in your kitchen, picking it up in batches.
Yeah, literally just cooking sauce in the kitchen, getting covered in ketchup. That was it.
Yeah. Did you have any sauce disasters, or was it all plain sailing?
Yeah, well, so interesting. So one of our products is a beetroot ketchup, and that is basically a happy accident. We had made the tomato ketchup, and it kept coming out really orange, and we couldn't work out why. So we're like, well, we need to make it. It needs to look more red, because no one's going to buy it if it looks too far away from what they're used to. So we started adding in a little bit of beetroot. A bit of extra sweetness, a bit of colour. And by this time we had a farmer making the sauces for us. He had a small kind of jam company, so he was making some ketchup for us. And I don't know whether I sent him the wrong amount of beetroot or what happened, but anyway, the next batch of tomato ketchup came back, but it was incredibly beetrooty. And I don't know whether he put like 10 times the beetroot, or I'd got the calculations wrong. But anyway, but it was delicious. So we thought, oh, we'll keep that as a beetroot ketchup. But it was never meant to be. It was never meant to be anything. There have been plenty of probably more serious disasters over the years.
That's the right type of disaster. That was a good ketchup.
Yeah, that was a good one.
So your range now, so you don't just do ketchup, do you? You've broadened, haven't you?
Yeah, so we started with the ketchups, and with what we wanted to be able to do is to become like a full stack condiment company, so that, if a hotel wanted to have us as their supplier, that they would have our mayonnaises, ketchups, everything, all the way through to mustard and things. So we've been gradually working on that. We started with the ketchup, the beetroot ketchup came second after that little mishap, and then we thought a barbecue sauce would be a good trio. And so we had those to start with for a good couple of years, and then we thought we needed to have some mayonnaises. So that's when we started mayos, and we did a chili, a classic, a chili, and one made with avocado oil. And then following on from there, all our sauces are vegan. So we wanted to be able to, we had customers asking if we had a vegan mayo. So then we made a vegan mayo. And then finally, we had been in discussions with Tesco for quite a while. And hadn't it wasn't like a stalemate, but we just we didn't feel they were interested, but we could never quite get anything over the line. And we said, oh, look, what about if we do a range of dressings with a sort of vague gut health interest in them, and we'll use fermented ingredients. And they really liked that. So that's when we decided to go away and work out a few new dressings. And we got a miso tahini, so the miso's fermented, and we a sriracha hot sauce which has fermented chilies in, and then a vegan Caesar dressing as well.
Oh, lovely! Yeah, we're massive fans of sriracha in the office. We've normally got some Harry.
Oh, we need to send you some then. For sure.
You what? Sorry.
We need to send you some.
Oh
definitely.
100%. It'll get munched down. Yeah, Harry. I used to eat terribly, just typical dad on the go, just like and any old whatever that's just there from the store. And then we got this microwavable rice cooker, which has absolutely changed the game in the office. So Harry, our apprentice, will say, right, rice, Rich, does rice with both, and then it's a choice of some kind of like chicken or fish with it, and it's always sriracha or some. Now it's going to be Dr Will's, obviously, the companies, because we've got plenty in the office, as you can see.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
So Tesco. So tell me about that. So you've gone from cooking in your kitchen, market stall, a few listings to wholesalers. Did you go straight to Tesco's? Did you build up D2C online with Shopify first? How did you get to that point?
Yeah. So the D2C thing was an obvious, easy choice to start with. When we didn't have any suppliers, we made a website, and that was fine. It's so expensive though in terms of postage and packaging that it was quite hard to get that going. And also ketchup. I mean, that people just put that in their supermarket trolley. It's not something that they are going to, I don't think that they particularly go online to search out and buy separately and have delivered. So we really knew that if we were going to progress, we needed to be on the supermarket shelves. And actually we emailed Tesco right at the very, very start, expecting to have no communication with them at all, but they had got back in touch with us quite quickly. So over the probably last 3 years, we've met up with them once or twice a year to tell them how we're getting on and what we're doing and where we see things going. And then probably about 6 to 9 months ago, they said, okay, I think you're probably at a stage now where we could look at sorting a listing out. And it was amazing for us, and it really felt like that kind of hard work had paid off, and we built a relationship with them over those few years. So that was good. And then we found out a couple of weeks ago, that we've been picked to be on their incubator program. Amazing. So where they pick I think it's 10 small brands that they're going to support, which is great because it really helps us get to know kind of senior leadership team at Tesco and help out in terms of promotions and things like that. So we're really excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show, we're so lucky in the UK in the food and drink industry to have such a fantastic startup scene and retailers that are engaged in it as well. I mean, when I started in recruitment almost 10 years ago, there wasn't that much in the way of startup. It was very stagnant compared to what it is now. And I started this podcast with Adam because it's just our passion is looking at new brands. We're always trying new stuff in the office. And we thought, well, it kind of fits with what we do as recruiters. So, it's like every year there's more and more categories that are breaking through. There's more and more interest in innovation. And I think as well, one of the things that's great is the startup scene seems to be really flying the flag for solutions to help that don't compromise on taste. That's what gets me so excited about it. But what? Because you're busy. You're a busy guy. So like, what's your pet hate when it comes to kind of sort of eating out? You mentioned before, but like, you're obviously here to improve the world of sauce. But like, if people could do one thing to improve sauce, other than stop Dr Will's, for the choices for busy consumers, like, what would it be?
So, in terms of swapping out their sauce for ours, or just, I mean,
well. Do you think it's more? Do you think we need more variety and flavour? Is it just that, or do you think?
I think we're certainly, if you look at the supermarket shelf now, you're starting to see a lot more choice there.
Yeah.
In terms of world sauces, hot sauces, sort of kimchi style things, and different flavoured mayonnaises. Whereas before, you sort of had your Heinz ketchup, Daddy's ketchup, HP sauce, and then supermarket own brand really.
Yeah.
So I think there is a lot more choice there, and hopefully we kind of fly the flag for that healthier, all natural choice that people want to make. I think, I mean, for us, people using our sauce obviously is the best thing we could hope for. But I mean, there's nothing. The hardest thing is that when, like, certainly our generation, probably generation before us, and even after us, like, when you get ketchup as a kid, it's Heinz ketchup. So your taste buds are immediately like, that's what ketchup tastes like. So for us, it's good that all the kids that try our sauce seem to really like it, and it's good if we could have them thinking that this is what ketchup is supposed to taste like, because actually once you've had ours for quite a while, and then if you go back and try some Heinz, it's like, wow, it's incredibly sugary. It's like having dessert on your chips. It's wild. So we can kind of reset that sort of basic, like
resetting the palate. That's a big need then. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. Well, we can help do that by pushing this podcast as hard as possible.
Good.
So you touched on Tesco's. I mean, that sounds like it's been a massive high. You know, are there any kind of other key highs in the story so far?
So actually, it was all kind of so before lockdown, before sort of COVID in March earlier this year, almost all of our business really was through the on-trade side of things. So we would sell we had good deals with universities, supplying their canteens and offices, UPS and all sorts of, I think, Google, Twitter, different places, head office would have our sauce and our pump dispensers in their office, trying to offer something a bit healthier for their teams. And when COVID happened and everyone was working from home, that side of the business just went from doing quite nicely to zero, essentially. And we thought, right, well, that's pretty much it. We're going to struggle to carry on here. And then really within a couple of weeks, Tesco's confirmed the listing and Waitrose confirmed a listing. And we hadn't been, it wasn't expected. It was just a real lifeline for us, which was great. I think some of the big guys had been struggling to supply. So I know certainly at Waitrose, they'd had some supply issues from Heinz at the start of lockdown. So I think we were able to fill a space there because we were ready to go. And being a startup, being a bit more nimble, we could get them our products delivered within a week. So that was a big high. But I mean, along the way, certainly those are massive things for us, which has been great. But great taste awards are always really nice. So our chili mayo won 2 2-star great taste awards, which is really good. Ketchup's got one now. Mayo's got one. So we've got some 4 across the board, which is great. Really nice kind of stamp of approval from the guys at Great Taste.
Great affirmation on all your hard work as well.
Yeah, I think so, certainly. We've also it's been really good fun growing a team over the last sort of 3-4 years. It was really sad, but when that business just disappeared at the start of lockdown, we ended up having to let a couple of people go, and that was like one of the hardest things to do because we all had a small team for a good few years, and that was pretty brutal. But it's just we couldn't have kept going. So as well as building the team gives you good highs because it's really nice getting to know people. We've had interns come across from France and university students, and it's really nice to see people go on to do exciting things. But then at the same time, you have that responsibility, and sometimes you have to make some really nasty, hard choices. But it's just the way it is.
Yeah. It's kind of some big highs there with the retail listings kicking in just as lockdown starts, but also, I mean, it's been tough, hasn't it, for everyone locked down, and it does impact your business, doesn't it? You have to change things up if you want it to be fit for the times that we're in. Yeah,
absolutely. You have to be able to pivot, and we were just lucky that Tesco's and Waitrose were ready for us.
Yeah. So if you were just thinking about sort of where you've been on this journey, I mean, it sounds to us like you've been smashing the targets you've set up for yourself as you've reached them. But is there any advice that you wish you'd had from somebody else when you were setting off?
So there's a few things that a couple of people told me early on, which I probably could have listened to more. One is don't be afraid to ask for help. Certainly what you were saying earlier on about this sort of startup foodie culture, it's a really friendly culture there. There's an online Facebook thing called the Food Hub, and you can put pretty much any question on there and there's people will get back to you with answers, and it's really supportive. So I think don't be afraid to ask for help. And also, even just, we got in touch with a few kind of quite big hitters in the food world early on, and that was just through emailing and saying any advice on this or that, and that was things which was really helpful. probably don't be afraid to tell people what your idea is. Sometimes I remember we did it at the start and meet people who are just starting their business and they're like, oh, I've got this new business idea, but I can't tell you what it is. And you're like, what? Then I can't offer any advice. But I know we were the same. We're like, oh, you have to be really secret about it. But people probably don't really care. They're not going to steal your idea, I don't think. Maybe in like big tech world they might, but not in ketchup. So.
Yeah. In the cutthroat world of Sauce Valley.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other thing is that old adage of employ people who are better at doing stuff than you are. And certainly our biggest kind of employment chance we took was with a guy called Liam White, who's now been so sort of fundamental in growing the company that the three of us are now co-founders. So, but Liam took a leap of faith because he left the world of banking to come and work with us. A pretty significant salary cut, but I think having, Josh and I, numbers wasn't really our thing, whereas Liam's very, very organized, really good at that side of stuff. So I think certainly that employ people who are better at doing things than you can do is a good bit. Yeah.
It's interesting, like it's a theme that crops up a lot in these podcasts, is getting the team dynamic right in terms of talent that's there in the core is absolutely paramount to building out success from that. And it sounds like sounds like you're taking the lead on the conceptual marketing stuff. You've got Josh in the kitchen with the product, and then Liam by the sounds of it with the hard numbers and data. It does sound like a really good mix,
Yeah, so Josh probably runs all the sales side of stuff more. He's really good at, so having had the restaurant, and he's also got a background in sort of nightclub student events, so he's really strong with doing the.
He knows how to handle awkward people then.
Yeah, he's good. He's brilliant. Whenever we've had sort of a disaster, he's brilliant at sort of turning things around quickly. He's good at finding solutions, which, with me, from a sort of medical standpoint, everything's a bit more protocolized and a bit rigid, whereas Josh is good at thinking outside the box and getting that stuff done. Liam, like you said, really good with the numbers, super organized. So in terms of all the logistics, he's just on top of all of that. And then what we've moved to is more of a sort of outsourced model where we've got a team of about 10 to 15 people, but it's all kind of freelancers who, whilst they're freelancers, they're really part of the team. And it's just meant that we can then afford to have people who would cost us way too much to employ on a full-time basis, but we can get their thinking and their expertise on a much more manageable sort of cost basis.
Yeah. Right, that's the first time I've heard that, actually. It's kind of advice is building a virtual team, I think sometimes, we do a lot actually with freelancers, and we've been helping a couple of startups at the moment, sort of network with freelancers, and sometimes there's like a bit of an idea in people's heads that if you're paying somebody a day rate or commission or whatever it is, they're not really going to be bought into the brand. But most of the guys I know who are agents or freelancers that have gone it alone, they do it not really because of the money, but because they absolutely love the sector. And they're people that are naturally curious and excitable, and they're bored by doing something linear. So being really plugged into 2 or 3 things, that is perfect for them. I think there's so much talent out there, isn't it, to plug into, like you say, if you ask for help. Oh,
absolutely. That's probably been a game changer for us, getting this much broader team of really sort of experienced people. And certainly we didn't do that at the start. I think we probably took on too many people, and we didn't really have the experience to train them up or to guide anyone enough. And that's certainly, but look back at sort of things we'd have done differently, we'd have made this switch over to kind of outsource model a lot quicker.
Yeah. Right. No, that's really interesting as an insight. Just before we get on to the fun bit, this is all fun. Trying the products, trying the sauce. You mentioned, I think in one of our other conversations, SOS. Tell us about SOS.
Oh yeah. So this is support our sauce SOS. So because we've got these couple of big listings recently, and certainly the Tesco listing, we wanted to get sauce really flying off the shelves. So we and with everything that's been going on, we decided if we could sell 10,000 bottles through Tesco's, we'd give £10,000 worth of sauce to food banks up and down the country. It was really had some really nice engagement, and we actually only have we're sort of cut off at the end of November, but we've only got about 1,000 left to go. So it'd be really nice to get that over the line and be able to give something back, which would be great. So that's certainly been something we've tried to do all along in terms of, and we're in the final stage of becoming a B Corp at the minute,
Right.
which is interesting. And we do sort of 1% for the planet and things. So sort of having a good business has been something we've been keen on from the start.
Yeah, yeah. So that's really interesting. I know quite a few startups as you go down the B Corp route. Is it arduous? Has it been interesting? Have you find it beneficial for the company?
It's a lot of work. I think I started the process about 2 years ago or 18 months ago. I think they've been inundated because lots of people are interested in it. And I certainly with COVID, I think their workforce has been stretched. But it really makes you take like a deep dive into your company culture and all of your kind of governance, really. And I think going through the application process made us take a lot more notice. That we'd probably been floating along and not really thought about it too much. Or certainly we were doing things, but we'd never formalized them and put them into place that was something we were always going to do. So it's been really useful from that point of view. And we're just in the very final stage of the kind of verification now. So hopefully it won't be too long.
Right, that's really exciting. Right, well, all this talk of sauce, it's got me fairly peckish. It's 12:10 on a Wednesday, and being a northern lad that likes pastry, I'm going to go Ginsters with me. So I'm going to go for Ginsters and a bit of Dr Will sauce. What's you've obviously got a wide range. What is your favourite sauce, Will?
So that's like asking who your favourite child is, isn't it?
Everyone's got one there, right? No.
Yeah, no. So the ketchup is like the original for me. I really like ketchup, which was part of the reason we started the company in the first place. But yeah. So the ketchup's really good. To be honest, the chili mayo is probably the best one for me. It's got a really it's hot, but it's not mind blowing. I mean, we've worked so hard on getting the flavor right that none of them go out unless we're like fully happy with them. So the sriracha is really hot, sweet, and tasty. So, but yeah, the chili mayo for me is the number one.
Yeah. Yeah, in our house we have a split. All the boys are all sauce mad and all the girls are all mayo mad. And so your chili mayo, I'm gonna have to get my wife back. She's a massive fan. To be honest, we're sauce man. We've always got about 10 different sauces in the fridge at any one time. And it becomes a bit of a battle when we do shopping because I have to take all my beers out because there's not enough space for the sauce in there, actually. In fact, that's a good question. Would you chill sauce or not? That seems to cause a lot of arguments.
Yeah, so that was one of the things that made us realise that some of the sauces that are out there already must have a lot of rubbish in them because, you know, you can go back to your cupboard like 10 years later, find some Heinz in the back and it still tastes the same. We were like, whoa. So we do, because ours is all natural. So it's got loads of tomato in.
Sounds dark and rich it is.
Yeah. So yeah, we keep ours in the fridge for sure. So you should be getting like a really pure tomatoey taste with like the vinegary like bite there as well. And it shouldn't be so sweet that it doesn't taste like a condiment anymore.
It's for those people that are laymen, an untrained palate like me, it reminds me of that kind of rich flavour that you get from a sun-dried tomato. That's what it straight away hits me. Really just kind of concentrated. It's brilliant. So
it's got 70% of actual tomatoes in, so it's got a load of real tomatoes in. So should have a like rich actual tomatoey flavour. Yeah, to really taste like a tomato rather than just a ketchup.
Right, yeah, it's fantastic. It goes very well with sausage roll. If there's any Ginsters fans watching, you need to get on it. It'll change your Ginsters life. Yeah, I can see it go really well with a nice steak as well. Actually, it's rich enough. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, and it's it's got that kind of it's a slightly more mature texture, I think, because it's a bit thicker. It's got a sort of slightly matte finish compared to the the kind of gloopiness of some of the other ones.
Yeah. So something we talk about in the office a lot, me and Harry and Adam, is this thing where you have a snack, and if it's cheap and dirty, you get sugar mouth afterwards. When you just kind of like, it's just like it's like cooked crawling out all of your flavours and all your taste buds, and it doesn't matter what you have in the next 2 hours, you aren't tasting it. You've killed it. Yeah. This is not giving me sugar mouth. It's great.
Sugar mouth, I like it. Yeah, that clawing kind of like coating your mouth with the sugar just isn't there. So
it's like a furry nuke's gone up inside of your mouth. It's not good, is it? When you get sugar mouth. Everyone knows that feeling. Fantastic. So you've got a bit of a food blog. You're a bit of a foodie. So obviously we know it goes with Ginsters pasties. We've tested that today. But I did notice on your food blog something that looks fairly cheeky because I'm a big fan of veg. You've got like a asparagus 3 ways. So is that something that you do with the sauce, or is that just like a general food thing? Or
yeah, so I think because one of the things is kind of trying to make food better. So we were just putting up there stuff that was seasonal. So cool. When that went up, it was very much asparagus season. So we were just trying to give some inspiration of different ways you could do it. In terms of different food to go with the sauces, though, I don't know if you're a fan of goat's cheese, but the beetroot ketchup for some reason just sets off goat's cheese. It's absolutely incredible. So you could almost have it, you're in a nice restaurant, they bring you the cheese board over later on, with your grapes and your what have you, a dollop of the beetroot ketchup. There's something so nice about that. It's quite tart with the goat's cheese. So that's certainly, we need to get that on the blog for sure.
That sounds spot on. Yeah, my that's probably my missus's favourite pub meal is like a goat cheese tart. She always goes for every time, so I have to get on the beetroot ketchup. So what's next then? You've also got B Corps coming up. Sounds like you're always working on the range, but what are you excited for, kind of going forwards?
So we've been doing. Along the way, we've been doing some sort of fundraising rounds, and we're sort of working on one at the minute. So if that comes off, we'll be sort of really excited about that. And just, I think for us now that we have this distribution in Tesco's and Waitrose, and having been supported really well by the small independent stores along the way, we'll finally have some ammo to kind of get the Dr. Will's name out there. So that we sort of didn't want to not advertise. We didn't want to waste money on marketing when people couldn't find it. But now it's in sort of 700 Tesco stores. Pretty much everyone in the country will be able to find it in a supermarket. So I think the idea now is to really concentrate on getting the name out there and getting the brand out there. So excited to see where that takes us. We had our first billboard campaign when we got into Tesco and Waitrose, and it was really nice to see something that Josh and I had started in a kitchen being advertised on a billboard. That was pretty cool. So certainly that we want to build out the range in Tesco's and Waitrose, because between the two of them, they kind of stock everything, but neither of them stock it all. So we're trying to push that, which would be great. Hopefully once COVID and things settle down, we'll be able to get back into the offices, do some of our on-trade stuff. And we had been growing quite a nice little export business, which again has settled down a lot, and Brexit wasn't great for that. So hoping that that stuff will pick back up again.
Right, exciting. So kind of really a case of leveraging the distribution you've got with the grocers and drawing down on that when it comes to conversations around investment.
Absolutely, yeah.
I guess Liam's background in finance will be really useful when it comes to securing that as well. It's great to have that on the team.
Yeah, because there's some. I mean, we must do it in medicine, and between us, doctors use language that patients don't understand. But when you start reading things from the lawyers and the bankers, it's like, I haven't got a clue. So it's really good to have Liam around. My dad's an accountant, so he helps out a lot with this company as well. So it's good to have their heads involved.
Oh, that's good. It sounds like you've got a very well picked team there, Will. So I mean, everyone who's watching this, I would highly recommend you go in there. A, buy Dr. Will's. Yeah. B, try it with Ginsters pasty and see let us know what else you're going to try it with. But where can people follow you? Where can they find you on social?
So social, just most of our stuff goes on Instagram, really. So it's just Dr spelt properly _Wills. We do a cook along recipe once a week on there with a guy called Tom Speed, who uses the sauces in really interesting ways and does a live cook along. Join our WhatsApp broadcast, but I don't know how the kind of technicality of getting that across on this podcast might be difficult, but I'm sure I could send you the link. The 3 founders, we've all got quite active LinkedIn sites, and that's certainly how we met, I suppose. So, but yeah, social wise, Instagram is probably the main one.
Instagram, LinkedIn, yeah. Well, send us the details on how people can get on your WhatsApp mail list, and we'll drop that in the comments on YouTube and Apple Podcasts, etc.
Brilliant, will be.
And look, Will, thank you so much for coming on today. I know you're a busy new dad times 2, with the surgery business plus the business. That is very busy. So I really appreciate your time. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you, and even more fun trying your sauce as well. And guys, if you've enjoyed today, give it a like, give it a thumbs up, click the bell so you never miss an update from us, and make sure you follow Dr. Will and Dr. Will's Catch Up on all their social. Thanks for listening. See you next time. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Check out the playlist here for more content like this. Click the donuts to subscribe so you never miss an update, and give us a like and a comment so we know what content you'd like to see from us. See you next time.